Hello, fellow humans. Welcome back to another episode of Ep.2 Flow. As always, I'm your host, Steven, along with my lovely co-host, Marilyn. And here at Ep.2 Flow, we all about acknowledging our current and enriching our future. Now, here today on our lovely show, we have the lovely Faith Michaels. Faith, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Hey, we always appreciate showcasing our H2 students or alumni as they see fit. So first, Faith, we're going to ask you, what year are you? And also, what did you major in? And if you already graduated, when did you graduate? That'd be awesome too.
I graduated this past year, and I majored in interactive media with a recognized concentration in advanced media production and an unrecognized minor in literature.
Awesome. Okay, so Faith, now what's unique about you, as I already know, is that you graduated at a very young age. So Faith, if I recall, you graduated at the age of 19.
Yep.
So
Still 19.
okay, so for those at home, graduating at an age that young is very unique for anyone. Like that is people
That's
typically
crazy.
in their 20s. So understand that Faith is a very unique case. Does that mean she's super smart at everything? I mean, hell yeah. It's Faith Michael here, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll
I
learn a
really
lot
thought you
more.
were going to say no. I was going to
No,
be
no,
like,
no.
you're right.
Nah, bro. I know you too well to say no to that. Or as I thought. But let's before we dive into the college life, let's kind of transition a little further back into the beginning before the college. So, Faith, where are you originally from?
I'm from Schaefferstown, Pennsylvania, which for anyone who is not from a very specific area of Pennsylvania, it's like half an hour from Hershey, maybe like 40 minutes, depending. And I grew up with my parents and my two younger sisters.
Okay. So, what was like growing up in Shaverstown?
I typically call it Yeehaville. I'm surrounded I'm surrounded by farms and the Amish pretty much. So it's kind of an interesting area to live in, but there's like bigger areas very close by. Like it's easy to get to Harrisburg and Lancaster, like when in an interesting spot. So I mean, I don't know. I feel like it was pretty classic American childhood, I would say.
Okay. Marilyn, up to you.
So let's see. You graduated at 19. So what did college look like for you? How old did you get to college? And did you take any credits in high school?
So technically, it's a little confusing, but technically, when I was supposed to graduate high school, my district has a rule that you have to take English for 4 years, and you can't take two in the same year. It's a stupid rule. I don't know who came up with the rule. Sorry, like that was a little pointed, but it's like a super weird rule. So Ryan Korn helped me figure it out so that I technically was dual enrolled for the one English credit. But when I did that, so when I went to I was 15 was when I was accepted to HU. And then I started college. While I was in college, I also worked almost full time at a restaurant. And then as I started to go up in college and I started taking extra classes because I just like having a heavy course load. And I started doing a lot of work for the school too. Like I was a tutor. I worked with the summer camps with Steven, connection leader, other things too. And then I was able to, thanks to taking courses over the summer and heavy course loads, I was able to finish in 3 years instead of 4. So then I graduated this past year.
So what was that like going to college, like 15 to 18, when most of your peers were probably in high school at that time? Was that weird for you, or did you thrive in that environment?
I think a little bit of both. I definitely was used to because like even in high school, I was always in the upper courses. So I was used to kids being most of my friends are and were 2 to 3 years older than me. So it wasn't really abnormal for me to be with people who were older. And my first year of college, I lived at home. So it was a nice transition because the first year I lived at home and commuted. And then the second year I moved to college, but I was more comfortable with the area at that point. So, I mean, there's definitely challenges when you come in so young, even just like money wise. I didn't have many years of life to kind of work to have money saved up, things like that. So I worked usually at least like 20, 30 hours a week on top of school. I think that was like the biggest strain, I would say. But socially, I found my group of friends and had a good time. I don't know.
That's awesome. So why did you choose you said you're IMED, correct?
hmm
What drove you to be an IMED? What are you passionate about?
It's kind of funny because what I'm passionate about technically now has not a lot to do with IMED, I would say. But when I was younger, I was very into art and mixed media and basically any kind of video also. So when I was trying to find a degree program, I actually I have a connection to Charles Palmer, who's the head of the IMED program. So I got to meet with him and talk with him. And he just had so much energy. He was just like so there, and he helped me kind of even like throughout my whole years at HU. He helped me develop the program to like what I wanted because now I'm working in social work and mental health. But because of his ability to help like shift my courses, and I did some independent study in therapy research. I took all of the like sociology, psychology courses. So I was able to have both the media background and kind of like the social sociology, psychology background too.
Oh, okay. So, because I really want to dive into that mental health aspect, because I know you're very passionate about mental health as a whole. So, kind of come back to the question of college. How did mental health play a role for you in your 4 years? Like you said, you started at a very young age, and
hmm
that could be a very intimidating factor for college. So, how was your mental health throughout those 4 years for you, and what were some ways you were able to like manage it?
hmm well, HU has, well, you're right. It's very odd coming in that way. I think you just have to approach it with like a can-do perspective, I think. But I definitely struggled with my mental health throughout college, and HU has the best counseling services. So that was a big thing for me. I utilized them a lot throughout my years. But I think also like a big part of it for HU was just I have really good support, like a really good support system. Like I really found some friends that are almost like family to me. I mean, even Maddie, who is one of my really close friends from HU, I lived with her family for a couple months. Just things like that. So I really kind of built my own extra family at HU, and even professors that I really got to be like very close with in an interesting way that kind of helped to like to connect with through the studies and work we did together, I think was also a big thing for me at HU.
Oh, nice, nice. I mean, I think for since Harrisburg University, for those who are unaware, university, it's a very small university. So the ratio between teachers to students is very small, meaning that more students are able to build a connection with their fellow professors and get to know them on a more personal level. Now, like you said, you got to know a lot of your professors really well. You got to really connect with a lot of your friends who you consider family, and also, kind of acknowledge you in the current where you are now. What have you been up to now? Like, what's the job scenario like for you? Are you doing something or not?
I'm doing a lot of things. My main job at this point is I work full time as a psychiatric technician on a child adolescent psychiatric inpatient ward, which is very interesting. But I love it. I love my job and I love the kids. So I do that full time. And then on top of that, I still work as a research assistant for two of the professors at HU, Dr. Payton and Dr. Adams. More
Mm.
so, I do more work with Dr. Adams typically, but I still do some stuff for Dr. Payton. I also volunteer for Crisis Text Line, usually like a few hours a week. And then I also am a counselor for the National Sexual Assault Hotline. So I do that too. I think that's everything. Yeah, that's mainly where my I'm like trying to like list in my head. Um, that's pretty much what I am up to.
Okay, okay. One more before I pass it off to Marilyn. So you do a lot of things, and I think one of the main factors for adults and also just for students who are going to college or heading to college is time management. So
hmm
for any things that you do, how do you go about managing all your time?
I'm super organized, so my Google Calendar is attached to me. I could not survive without it. So I'm really big on calendars and schedules and lists, to-do list. Big fan of Microsoft To Do. Um, I use that constantly. I think the other thing for me, which is probably not always the best, but I am a big multitasker. So even at work, like there's a lot of times at work where even today, like I took a patient to get an X-ray, and so you have to sit like you just sit out. So I was able to and just wait for them. So I was able to spend some time on like the research work, for example. So there's like different, I think looking for opportunities to kind of make the best of your time, but also scheduling in like break time is I think really important. For me, my break is reading. I love as you can see,
Yeah.
I read constantly. So for me, my thing for myself is I always make an hour in the day where I can read, whether it's like my lunch break or whatever it is. But that's kind of like my thing.
Awesome. Awesome. Marilyn?
Wow, you are like always doing something. That is incredible. What were some of your favorite activities to do in college? I know we talked about your involved course load, but outside of class, what did your life look like there?
Um, Most of my outside of class was I honestly worked a lot of the time, especially with tutoring because I was just always in the school. I was just going from classes to tutoring to classes to tutoring. But I think most of what I did that was like extracurricular was just spending time with my friends, like walking to the McDonald's 3 miles away, or going out for some kind of food, or like painting or writing or whatever together. Like most of my time was spent in like small groups of friends doing stuff, I would say. As well as I love reading. I was really into making at that time. Not really sure why. It was like my thing. So I did a lot of collage making. Um, but yeah, mostly reading. Honestly, that's majority of what I do.
Is there anything that like drives you to be I don't want to say busy because you're like more than busy. You're like seem like you're working towards something. What is your end goal if you have one?
um, I don't know that I necessarily have an end goal. I think I just kind of follow I follow my values in the most productive way I can is kind of the way I think about it. So like one of my big values is like educating yourself. So from a when I was very little, I always loved to read. So reading is kind of my way where like I enjoy it and it's something I can do, but I also know that I'm constantly like teaching myself more through it, whether it's in kind of the sense of like a memoir where you're learning experiences or like history or whatever. I think that's a big driver. Other values for me that I like follow would be like in the mental health field. In work, I really want to do my best to just help people, whether it's being like therapeutically supportive for them or even just honestly existing with them sometimes at work. So I just tend to like I try to focus on the things that matter to me and then build on those as much as I can to try and create like a larger life space for myself so that I always have all these threads I can pull on, I guess is kind of how I think of it, whether it's research or working in a hospital or reading or whatever it may be.
Well, that's awesome. So is there any book you're reading right now? And also, what
Oh,
is your favorite?
I usually read 3 books at a time. I have a book I read at work, a book I read at home, and a book I read in the car. I know that sounds really funny, but it's like if I don't do that, I'll forget where I left. Like I'll leave the book in the wrong place, and then I won't have it. So the book that I'm reading at home right now is "Educated" by Tara Westover, which is a book about a very strongly religious kind of doomsday anarchist man raising his family with like no outside contact. So she's one of his children talking about it. It was a huge bestseller. I just never got my hands on it till now. So I'm reading that now. My favorite book I've read, I'm looking at it, that's why I'm like looking over here. But my favorite book recently is I just read Scenes of Clerical Life by George Eliot, which is a kind of a pastoral psychological novel written in the mid to late 1800s, and it's actually just socially like the social commentary is so relevant today. I'm gonna read it again very soon. Like it was amazing the way that like humans are just humans. So yeah, that's my I can't pick an all-time favorite, but that's like my recent favorite.
That's so cool. Steven, do you have anything else?
I was gonna say Harry Potter is my all-time favorite series, so I'm gonna be real
I've
on that
never
one.
read Harry Potter, so you're gonna have to. So
Out of
sorry.
all the books.
You know what? Look, man, you read a lot more books, so I'm gonna let you get that one. So it's cool, but
Thank
like,
you. It's just I have a hard time with J.K. Rowling.
I
Is my
understand. Trust me,
problem. Not really Harry Potter, yeah, but
I understand that one, but you know, I would say some of my final questions would be specifically around well, Curry, you already asked about, do you have an end goal? But during that span, because for our viewers at home, what advice would you give to students who are transitioning from the high school life to the college life? What type of things would you say?
um especially if you're living at college, one of my big advices is meal plan. You have to meal plan. It's so hard to like come up with food on your own. And this may be because like for me, I've always had my mom who just like is giving me too much food, like to the point where I'm like, okay, like I'm like I food. So when I had to live on my own, it was very difficult for me to like mentally figure out my food. And food is your fuel. So if you're not like eating healthy food at all, that's a big one. Also, sleep. I did not sleep in college, like at all. I slept like 3 hours a night. It's caught up to me now. Don't recommend it. Um, so that'd be one thing. Definitely sleep. Another one would probably be just like it's okay if you have a hard time, like most people do. I think that there's kind of this expectation that you're like a kid and then you're an adult, and that's just not how life works. There's going to be times where like you're going to be sitting on your floor like, oh man, I miss my mom, and there's going to be times where you're like out with your friends and you're like, yay, I'm free. Like it's all ups and downs, so it's okay to have like a lot of different parts of yourself like integrating, because that's you're starting to become the person you'll be. So
I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I think a lot of students, when they make that big transition, they have a lot of fears. I think some of the fears is like they're making that jump. I'm about to become an adult student because like 4 more years until I'm that level. And then also, this is the college factor. I think a lot of social and mental issues come into about too, with people not being able to adjust to their new environment and other things like that. And I think you talked a little bit about how you adjusted, and you adjusted pretty well. You were able to create some friends, have some people you consider family in the long term, and you adjusted pretty well yourself at such a young age. Like I said, you graduated at age of 19, and I know for those at home, that doesn't seem like okay, that's a cool number. I mean, she must be super smart, but you have to understand, college is not high school. College, because my last question will kind of focus on classroom environment specifically for you, Faith. How would you describe a typical class in college? Was it well, actually, let me be more specific. So if you had to say what was the hardest class you ever took, what would it be and why?
I know, yeah. Math has never been my strong suit throughout high school. Like it's funny because I was just talking to someone about this today, that if you looked at my study time in college, when I was in a math class, it'd be like 50% math, 50% my five other classes. Like no joke. I Math is just not it in my opinion. But so yeah, I also, I mean, the two math classes that I had, the one that I really had a harder time in, I had Professor Belgrave, who's the best, or Dr. Belgrave. Like I love her. She's the best. Still not loving math, but she definitely really helped me be able to do well in that class and feel like I could actually get through it. Because I remember I was really scared. Like the first couple weeks, like I took the first test and I was all freaked out and I was like, oh no, I can't do math. But yeah, so it works out. It's You have to adjust to every class.
Okay. And then my last question is kind of in the sense of when you picked HU, like, because since you did the dual enrollment, that automatically guaranteed you safe passage to HU if you completed dual enrollment. It's part of our little package we do here. It's for a dual enrollment program. You mentioned Ryan Corn, and I know he'll probably think this is us trying to gloat him up, but could you talk a little bit about Ryan Corn and how he helped you along your path?
Yes, I can. I love Ryan. Ryan just basically kind of did everything for me, I would say. is very accurate. He helped me get what I needed, and throughout all my years, like my first year, he consistently checked up on me, made sure I was doing okay, considering I was just turned 16 and was in college. He helped me with, I mean, I worked for him throughout my years there. He helped me when there was a class I wanted to take that I couldn't get into. He helped me with the whole graduating situation. He just was always there for me and always supported me. So, yes, Ryan's the best. We're
Awesome.
plugging Ryan right now.
I mean, for those at home, Ryan Corn is the director of secondary services at their university. He's in charge of a lot of dual enrollment programs we do here. He also works with a lot of different other projects. Some of the projects you'll see here on the Enrichment social media channels. But without that being said, Faith, first and foremost, thank you again for coming on. We appreciate having you. That was really good to learn all these cool things that you're doing, all the things you're doing even now, knowing that you're a graduate. Because before we started recording, I did not know she was graduated yet. I thought she was still a senior at A2.
And I graduated with you too.
Yeah, she graduated with me too. We both graduated in May, and it's a time, and it's unique how she graduated because if I remember right, you said you had an internship at the time, and since the internship was still happening, it didn't actually count you until after you finished it, which was later on after graduation was already over.
Yeah, because of like capstone and the order that everything has to be in, it was a whole thing. But it was really funny you didn't know, because when they did the ceremony, like a bunch of professors congratulated me when they but my name was never up. It was like the funniest thing. Like I think they just like randomly were like, okay, we're gonna congratulate Faith. I don't know.
Bro, because I remember someone saying like, dude, you see Faith graduate? I'm like, wait, which one? Because I'm thinking there's two of you. There's Faith.
I know there's three now. Did you hear this? There's three. I am the alpha. I'd like to let everybody know. But there's three. Yeah.
Like the other two Faiths, no disrespect to them, but Alpha, then y'all some Omegas. It's okay. But anyway, once again, thank you, Faith, for coming on to A2 Flow. We appreciate having you on. And for those watching, and if you're curious on anything else we do here on the channel, be sure to check out all our socials on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, my name's Steven. That's Marilyn. This has been A2 Flow Video. We'll see you guys next time.